JEM is my name, no one else is the same. JEM is my name. JEM.
Okay, well, that cover is just adorable. One of the many compliments I levied against the original cartoon was the fact that the main characters, and even the side characters, kept changing their clothes. I really appreciated the fact that our characters had a wardrobe. They didn't just have one standard outfit that they wore throughout the entire show. They changed their clothes a lot, which is particularly helpful when fashion is one of the pillars of your property. And there are clothing changes here, but one thing I've noticed in only 3 issues is the hairstyles keep changing. Both of our main bands keep changing their hair. And in this particular issue, I think there's 3 cases. Pizzazz, Jerica, and Kimber are all doing the hair straight back with a hairband thing, which looks particularly cool on Pizzazz. I've never seen her rendered with just her hair straight back before, so that's a cool look for her. There's also some other really neat outfits, hairstyles. Why do I keep blanking on Mary Stormer's has her hair pinned up in one panel. Jeddah, I'm for some reason blanking on names today. I don't know why. Jeddah's got a pompadour going on here, which is interesting. So a lot of really, not just a wonderful variety in the outfits, but the hairstyles too, which is very cool to see. Except maybe Rio. I think Rio's gonna have the short on the sides, long on the top, brushed back. That's probably gonna be his look for the run. But I mean, I don't really change my hairstyle, so why should he? Let's see. What do we want to talk about here? Oh, we introduce the Clash. So she's coming in early. I really like her new character design. They're doing a really wonderful job of doing a new take on the character while still making them recognizably that same character. All the characters, even if they didn't have their names written in the corner, you'd probably recognize them all for who they are. Clash, for example, facially, hair-wise, even outfit-wise, she's quite different, but her hair still has the same red and blue colors. She's still in one of the panels anywhere wearing that black dress with the green fur overcoat. This time it's just lining instead of the entire coat, but it's really nice to see them not just wholly redesign the characters, but take the recognizable elements of them from 30-some years ago and update them for use in a new story. It's really cool to see. So when we last left off, Kimber and Stormer were having coffee, and the Misfits ran into him. It's like, traitor! And, of course, Pizzazz loses her cool, runs in, and someone's like, hey, you're Pizzazz, can I have your autograph? No! Knocks her coffee out of her hands, and of course someone's filming it, and Misfits cause problem in local coffee shop, makes the news. And what's particularly interesting is they're yelling at Stormer for, you treasonous little twit, how dare you? And she's like, we're just having coffee. It wouldn't have become a problem if you guys didn't leave. And what I find particularly funny is the Misfits are spinning this as, no, you don't understand. We're protecting you. Because if you were seen with our competition, that would be the story. But because we are thinking about you, out of the kindness of our hearts, we burst in there and caused a scene so that is the story and not your little dalliance with Kimber. Yeah, that's BS. But, it's an interesting yarn to spin. So we've got a couple things going on in this issue. We've got Kimber. When the Misfits came in, she immediately beat a hasty retreat, and she's feeling kind of bad. That's like I kind of left Stormer by herself. I abandoned her, and I'm feeling kind of bad about that. But she's like, "Oh, what do I do?" So she's talking with her sister, with Aja and Shayna, about what do I do, and they're like, "Just write her a text, but run it by us first, so you don't screw something up." Meanwhile, Rio and Jerica are out on their date, and this whole sequence is actually really well done. They're doing a nice job of making both characters really nice, likable people who you could not only see being into each other, but root for. It's like, yay! I ship 'em! Right? So, doing a really nice job there. And what's interesting is, I was interested to see, there's a moment here where Jerica is talking about herself and her family, Kimber and Aja and Shayna. And I was really interested to see if Rhea was going to go on, and what about JEM? How does she come into the picture? But he doesn't do that. It's interesting. That's interesting. And that's well done, too, So I'm digging Rio, I'm digging Jerica, their relationship's working, that's all nice. Now, I think probably the most interesting part of this comic, this issue, is Pizzazz. As I mentioned in the last episode, this Pizzazz is distinct, at least this early in the comic run, I find her distinct from the cartoon Pizzazz, in that while they're both abrasive dicks, she's abrasive and a dick to her bandmates and pretty much anyone around her. This version of Pizzazz has integrity that the cartoon version didn't seem to have. This Pizzazz is like, yeah, I want to win, but I want to win, against a band that's good, a band that challenges us. I don't want to just pull some lame band out of a hat and someone that we're just going to stomp into paste. Yes, I want to win, but I want to really beat somebody. The cartoon Pizzazz would be totally fine with such shenanigans. It's like, oh yeah, get the worst band there to guarantee that we win. Let's sabotage them. Before I get to the other interesting difference here, they also introduce Blaze, who I have no memory of, so this is... I'm going to be really embarrassed if this isn't a new character. It's like, how did you forget about Blaze? I totally did. If she's in the cartoon, I don't remember her. But apparently a friend of Clash, she calls her up for a favor. So the band, the Misfits, are losing their cool because they find out that the Holograms are doing a charity benefit. There was a headliner who had to back out, and the person who was running it happened to know Jerica and says, hey, could the Holograms fill in? And they said, absolutely. So the Misfits are kind of mad that it's like, oh, they're using our Misfits versus competition to boost their own profile. Shenanigans, I say. And of course, Stormer's like, I mean, it's for charity, But it's interesting how the Misfits are prone to recontextualize events to suit their own agenda, which is kind of funny. What was I talking about? Oh, Clash and Blaze, right. So Clash is, of course, the groupie, the hanger-on, who is... They're telling her to, shut up, Clash, and go away. And so she walks out and she calls Blaze and says, hey, do you work for that catering company? You guys doing that charity benefit that the Holograms are at? Can you get me on the wait staff there? Because I'm going to sabotage it for the Misfits. So it's kind of interesting that the sabotage is, in this case anyway, all on Clash and not actually on the Misfits. It'll be interesting to see if that is how it continues to play out through these stories, or if shenanigans are something the Misfits themselves get up to. But returning to Pizzazz, another difference I find between her and the cartoon version is this is the most angry and violent I have seen Pizzazz. Now, Pizzazz often lost her cool, but the Pizzazz in the cartoon was just a really whiny, spoiled adult woman who just couldn't tolerate being told no. And, blame it on a bad upbringing. Her mom left. Her father had no interest in her and just kept buying her stuff, which she both took advantage of, but seemingly also did it just desperately trying to get any attention, particularly approval and acknowledgement from her own father, which sadly she never got. Had the series continued, maybe that would have been explored more, but where it ends is like really tragic and sad. But by the end, Pizzazz seems to at least be on a better path. She seems to be kind of okay with her relationships with her colleagues, and just seems to be mellowing out as she approaches the latter half of her 20s, I suppose. However old those characters are supposed to be. This Pizzazz, it has very angry, violent outbursts, the one in the comic. She strikes me as bipolar, because she's got these manic highs, and then she appears to have lows that are typified of that emotional swing. For example, she's recording with her band, and she stops them and blows up and screams at them. And particularly the art that they're using to show her angry face is, you're like, whoa, this is beyond frustration, This is someone who has maybe even a pathologic need for control, and when she's losing it, she can't deal with it any other way than lashing out angrily and violently, even towards the people she cares about. So she stops the rehearsal, complaining that what they're doing is not perfect. Then she there's talking about, she finds out about that benefit that the holograms are doing, and she's actually sitting there quietly, and you can see this in the background. It's really well staged, I thought. She stands up, and she's just, she's like hunched over, like almost zombie walk, like, or sleepwalking. She just stands up, walks over, picks up her guitar, and smashes it against the ground. And the next panel shows an expression that I'm probably reading more into it than maybe the artists and storytellers intended. But this particular facial expression reads to me like a realization that I've lost control. But despite my realization of that fact, I can't stop. I want to. I know I'm wrong. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't have control. I recognize I don't have control, but I can't stop. And she ends up doing a scream, which I of course, I'm of course hearing Patricia Albrecht. So, apologize. I don't know that I've ever heard her name pronounced. Sadly, I believe she passed away. I think she passed away like right before I started reviewing the original comics, so like late 2019, early 2020, something like that. But she has an and I totally hear that delivery. And then she flips a table, and of course Roxy's like, "No, the bagels." If you're not cottoning it, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of myself in Pizzazz. I have really unfortunate anger problems too. The difference between Pizzazz and I is 20 years. I've had a long time to get that crap under control as best I can. She's clearly still working on it. And what I really love is there's this, as I was talking about, there's a bunch of different stories. There's the Misfits, there's Clash and Blaze, there's the holograms talking amongst themselves about Kimber and Stormer's relationship, although Kimber's currently not telling them that it's Stormer, just, a girl I like, and the Jericho Rio date. And there's a visual riff that they do at the very end of this comic, which I really like, which is individual panel. While Clash and Blaze are speaking, there are individual panels showing off what's going on in each of our ABCD stories. And there's this trailing blue with pink outline smoke connecting all of it, which my interpretation of that visual riff is this is all tied together and happening in sequence simultaneously. It's all happening right now. So in a film, it would be the voiceover phone conversation between Clash and Blaze, while we flash to our different sub stories to see how everything has ended for this particular episode. I really like the visual riff. I think it's a neat idea and it's very effective. And what I'd like to point out is the Pizzazz again. I talked about she has her highs and her lows. This is definitely one of her lows. She's sitting there next to the remains of the guitar that she smashed, and she looks, and again, this may be me reading myself into it, but she looks very upset with herself. She's looking at that going like, I done a bad. I should not have done that, and I couldn't help it, and I'm mad at myself for losing control, and that just makes me more mad. And that is a vicious cycle, and it's a very difficult thing to get around. So, but that's, even if that's not what the artists and storytellers intended, that's one of the myriad beautiful things about art, is the ability to bring your own life experiences and perspectives to a piece of art, which allows you to get something different from it that another consumer of said art, another person who's looking at the same thing might get, right? Many of you who read this is like, I didn't get that at all. Yeah, that doesn't mean you missed something. What I'm reading may not be there, but my own life experiences is something I may be putting into this. But I think that's one of the great things about art. It's what makes it so interesting and endearing and valuable and fun to talk about. Because if we all got exactly the same thing out of each piece of art, there wouldn't be much to talk about, right? We'd all be saying, hey, did you see that thing? I did see the thing. It was cool. Yes, it was. That part when this? That meant this. Yes, it did. Art conversations would be very boring. So, I am digging it so far, and I'm really interested to see what they do with Pizzazz, particularly as a character. I'm going to get there's no indication of this from the book so far, but I'm bringing my knowledge of the show in. I'm gonna guess Pizzazz is where she is, partially because of her relationship with her father. Now they could have completely changed this backstory. We will see, but I think the unique directions that this character takes as opposed to the cartoon version has the potential, particularly for an angry dude like me, to be thematically fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. So, clappity clap, kudos, plaudits, all that nice stuff. I'm gonna go read issue 4.